I can't believe it. The Dems are freaking out that Kamala is becoming too overconfident through some demented version of reality. Her smug and unearned and this weird kind of a delusional overconfidence within the party is freaking out the Dems. And it's all over the place. I'm checking out the news stories. Kamala and this honeymoon stage, this sugar high, they're freaking out. They say it's going to ruin her chances of being able to withstand and endure the bruising and unrelenting attacks that the November election will bring, and that Trump and others are going to be bringing to her front door, whatever the hell that means. I mean, these strategists, they're freaking out. They know, they grasp that this radical left, this moonbat, this benighted West Coast San Francisco liberal lunatic will at some point have to answer questions about her record and these delusional ideas that she's trying to advance. And let me tell you something. She's got to understand and be on the lookout for any October surprise or opposition research or something that happens to derail her campaign. And I have been saying this for the longest time and nobody's listening to me. She better have something cogent and rational to say about Israel, especially Monday when all hell breaks loose in Chicago. And that godforsaken sewer, beautiful town, but this town has gone nowhere. In fact, I was reading before, I'm looking at all my notes now. It's friends of mine who live in Chicago are constantly sending me stuff. They can't believe it. This Brandon Johnson, he's the worst. He's the worst. Now, I was reading in a Breitbart mentioned it, and The Hill, Fernand Amandi. This is a former, I love these strategists. I imagine them sitting in a room with a chessboard. This is one of Obama's strategists. He says, quote, every presidential campaign in modern history has had to go through an unanticipated scandal, crisis, or world event. And at some point, he says, that political law is going to happen to Kamala's campaign. Anyone who is measuring the drapes at the White House, he says, needs a serious reality check. And what happens is the swing state polls, and these change daily to an extent, are showing that Kamala is statistically tied with Donald Trump. Now, that polling, that result, perhaps gave, who was it, Greenspan would say, an irrational exuberance to Democrats after Trump was just destroying Biden by double digits. And so what people are saying is that the Democrats right now are highly thrilled, they're elated with this apparent trajectory regarding the Kamala campaign. And this was from a Democratic strategist by the name of Tim Hogan. Quote, but anyone politically conscious over the last decade, especially Democrats, knows that terrain can shift and events beyond our control can quickly change the nature of elections. How do you like that? It gets so much better. There was another one too, Breitbart mentioned. Democratic strategist Christy Setzer. Isn't that Brian Setzer from the Stray Cats? Anyway, she says, quote, I think it's she, I don't know. Quote, so we come into this with a ton of well-earned anxiety that all the polls in the world can't entirely dissipate. It all looks good, but trust us when we say take nothing for granted. Now, other Democrats, as you can imagine, have been warning that not all the polling data is that great. Not everything's that terrific. There was a former Obama strategist, cited again by Breitbart, Jim Messina, from Loggins in Messina. Your mama don't dance, and your daddy don't rock and roll. He cited undecided voter data, saying that there is no room for this irrational overconfidence in this incredibly close election. Dana Perino from Fox News. Wow, there you go. She says, quote, when you look at who the undecided voters are in this election, we're down to like 5%. And the question is, she says, are some of those voters going to get out and actually vote? That's what I've been saying. You can't run an election saying, hi, I'm Kamala. I'm not Donald Trump. Vote for me because I'm not Donald Trump. Come to my restaurant because it's not Italian. What is it? It's not Italian. Okay. Can you give me a hint? Now, Kamala comes with a series of problems that you can imagine that the newly crowned and newly beatified Democratic candidate will have. 70% of registered Democrats and independents, they say, who voted for Biden in 2020 are mostly in the dark about many of her positions and her ideas. This is according to polling. 70% undecided independent working class voters are likely to decide this 2024 election, and many of them, believe it or not, are going to be voting at that moment, at that date. So don't think all of a sudden they're involved in this very slow and deliberative of contemplative review. Kamala lacks the appeal of Midwestern states. She's this West Coast, San Francisco, Willie Brown, perceived perhaps slattern, and just she's got more baggage with this stupid cackling. She's been the object of jokes forever. This doesn't work in her favor. Trump is now more popular than he was in 2020 and in 2016. This is according to, of all people, CNN analyst Harry Enton. I like him a lot. Not just because he says what I want to hear. So this Democratic enthusiasm to vote for Harris dropped by a point compared to enthusiasm among Democratic voters in May for Biden, which was 62%. This is according to Enton. This is according to CNN. And while enthusiasm for Republicans to vote for Trump increases and has increased at 2 points from May, Donald Trump's favorability rating, according to RCP, Real Clear Politics, is less than 1 point below his highest approval rating, which was marked in April. So let me tell you something. His rating, also if you look at 538, the average, is less than 1 point below his greatest approval rating in February. So what does all this mean? It means that if Kamalita and Kamala thinks that everything is gravy and groovy and perfect, everything is gravy, she's out of her mind. But do me a favor. Please don't tell her this from me. Please don't tell her. Let her grovel. Let her be destroyed by her own new teeth, by her own unearned, irrational, and psychotic exuberance.